Hi, here we are live again. This is Bethany here with the Retrain Your Brain show. Super excited, kind of moving on a little bit from the reality check series, as I think I'm going to come to call it. Just to recap real briefly, the last 4 episodes have all been about checking in with yourself and finding the way that you need to check in with your head and figure out, is it something you can handle on your own? Is it a limiting belief that you just need more exposure and more research and education? Or, is it something that you may need to go see a counselor or coach or even a therapist? We all have our things, and to different degrees and different abilities and different services at our disposal. So, just again, the reality check just comes down to just knowing that you are in your spot and are, doing something to improve it if it's something that is holding you back. Asking yourself, are you really enjoying the life you have? Do you love your job? Are you financially stable and able to do everything you want to do? Are you at a physical fitness level that, again, allows you to do what you want to do? And that can vary. I mean, that could be the marathoners to maybe you're good with just the occasional, hiking around. And there's a whole different set of fitness needed for Hi Kim doing what you and Eric do, which is, dirt bike riding and motorcycle riding. It's a whole nother thing. Hi, Eileen. Just making sure that you can answer those questions. Are you living the life that you really want? Is where you're at are you able to fulfill what you're looking to do with your life and moving forward, with this whole adulting thing as it's come to see. So moving on away from that, I want to ask you now that you've checked in with yourself and have thought about, it would be nice if these relationships were a little bit better, or maybe I'm a socially awkward nerd and I'd like to be a little less socially awkward. Something I've worked on a lot. Do you want to have a goal, a better fitness goal and a better health goal? I've got a pretty high risk of cancer in my opinion, considering the history of my family. So I've got health goals that I need and want to achieve to lower my risks. What could it be? Do you have something that you need to work on, and maybe there's a different reason holding you back than you think. So this is where I mean by untraining yourself. So today I'm going to talk specifically about what especially the public education system has trained us to be. So a little bit of the history on the public education system. So I actually, I just went to Wikipedia. It was an amazing, actually pretty short article that was quick to the point on how we have the current system that we have, especially for the ones, for those of us who've been out of it for, 20 years. It turns out that system hadn't really been in place that long. I guess back in 1880, 1890s, high school in specific was more of a college prep type thing. So not that many people were in it, and there weren't that many universities. It was a pretty exclusive thing, and just for those people who really wanted to get into it. And then about 1910, 1920s, by then, high school became part of the core. So not only did you have the primary school, but then we did have that secondary school that more and more people were going to. They said some 30% by 1920 of people under the age of 18 had been enrolled in high school, since it was no longer just a college prep. and slowly but surely things were becoming, you know, more accessible to more families as the wealth of the U.S., you know, was still growing substantially at the time. But then there was the Great Depression, and that hurt because, you know, again, a lot of jobs gone means a lot of taxes gone, which was supporting the schools. So with Lyndon Johnson's New Deal, toward the end of that, there was a lot of funding that got put into the schools, put into jobs for new teachers, and kind of exploded it right back up again with the New Deal. And then all the way up to, what did I write down here? I think at about the years, about the 1945-ish is when there was a really emphasis on supporting the creative process of children and supporting play and arts until coming up until about the 1980s, when the school systems now, of course, they've grown, they've gotten larger, and 1980s is when standardized testing started. So most of us grew up, you know, most of us right now that I've usually talked to, hey Joseph, have grown up in this American school system that really formed in the 1980s, the standardized school system. And so those of us in schools in the 80s and the 90s, it was actually a relatively new model and a new emphasis, at least on the course of what the focus of the schooling was. And this has been a complaint, you know, essentially since then, that schools focus too much on the testing and having to live up to standards, such as in the 90s, or no, it was actually 2002 when No Child Left Behind was instituted, which really created standards for the schools and what testing levels they had to get in order to get additional funding or lack of funding, and etc. So that actually was in 2002. When I read the date, I was like, holy cow, I thought that started in the 90s, frankly. It's like, it's been a lot, not as long ago as I had thought. And so, you know, again, you know, this has been an ongoing complaint for a very long time, that American school system focus way too much on the standardized testing, and is almost halted, you know, creativity and then life learning situations because of standardized testing. You know, because standardized testing can only test on things that have a metric. It's easy to test, you know, math, sciences, vocabulary, you know, all the what we think of as traditional subjects. It's easy to test that stuff. There's a metric. You either know it or you don't. Where creativity is on a scale. You know, I'm an engineering type person. I'm a math type person, but I do have some creativity in me, which is part of the reason why I can do these shows. You know, that creativity has made it so I'm not a completely social awkward nerd, despite, again, things I have needed to work on, which, you know, we all can. You know, but the point is with the system that we've got, and to get you through that and trained, they've essentially trained you since, you know, I would say first grade. And I think it's right that it's been rather female centric, because girls are better at doing this than boys. But you've been basically trained. You sit down, you do your work, you speak when you're called on. You're otherwise supposed to be quiet unless it's a free time. And you're there for a set amount of time. And then after that time, you go home, and that's when you have your extra stuff and your play time, your sports or whatever. You know, for kids, it was just kind of go out and play and be free. Other than, you know, if you had a little bit of homework to do or whatnot. If you think about it, this is very akin to training you on having a job later in life. It trains you to be a worker bee. It trains you to, you know, follow the rules, follow directions, do what they want you to do, get it done, and then after, you can go and do what you want. For many of us, that was, you know, it was playtime. You know, in high scholl, I did do sports after hours, but for the most part, you know, do my get my homework done and then go and, you know, play with my friends and hang out and, you know, however, you know, that evolves from when you're a kid to high school to quite a big difference. But, so the point is sometimes when you've got a creative mind and you start getting that little itch of, you know, what more could be out there in the world, people can get stopped because they don't know how to break out of the worker bee mentality. Because think about it, we spend 12 years being trained from first grade to high school in the school system to be worker bees. And I mean, I get it. Frankly, that's how hierarchy works. You have a few people at the top making the jobs, and then you've got everyone else who supports that. And so we need the worker bees. This is not a criticism, but it's just to point it out that, you know, maybe some of you might have been served better if there was some kind of track for people who might be able to break out of that. For the most part, it's mostly people whose parents own businesses or, you know, went to a non-traditional, you know, school. Maybe they were an online person because, you know, their parents traveled a lot, or, you know, whatever their case may be. They talk about homeschooled kids are actually more likely to get their, you know, they can get an associate's degree, a 2-year degree from a community college before other kids graduate high school. You know, there's quite a bit of statistics behind that. Well done homeschooling programs have resulted in freer thinkers, more well-adjusted kids, and who excel both either in the workplace or create businesses of their own. They just seem to be a little freer and just simply more likely to excel. And like I said, and I say homeschool programs, like here in Washington, where my best friend lives, up in Edmonds, there's a network. It's everyone's working together. So homeschooling isn't just like sheltering my kid from the world because it's evil. It's just a different way of getting the same information. And homeschooling has actually shown that they've really, you know, made some strides, and that the kids advance actually often faster if homeschooling's for them. Sometimes there's discipline problems, and frankly, you know, they might actually be better in the structure of a public school, which, like I said, that's fine, because that means your kids probably, you know, quite possibly, you know, one, just does well with structure, but two, you know, maybe they'll be fine as a worker bee. And I don't mean that as in a bad way. You know, we need them. We need, you know, I did my part for over 10 years, and now I'm just trying to break free. So, you know, I'm just, you know, just think about your constructs, think about what you grew up in, and what, you know, thinking about your history, what are lessons you've learned that maybe, like I said, given the right little, you know, planting of a seed or push or shove or giant kick in the right direction, might break you out of that mold and just send you on a trajectory to higher goals, higher dreams. A lot of the entrepreneurial type podcasts and conferences I've been to is that we just don't dream big enough. You know, there's the joke that I heard from, what was it? I love Eddie Izzard, Dressed to Kill, and, you know, he's British, and he talks about seeing, you know, a counselor to help them figure out what they should do with their life, and he's like, I should be an astronaut, and they're like, hold on, we're British, keep it down, you know, I'll be, you know, the next Prime Minister. We're British. Tone it down a bit. And he's like, all right, I'll work at a shoe shop and design shoes no one ever seen before, you know. So, you know, it's like, have you been told, you know, hey, that's too lofty. What are you thinking? You know, actually all the entrepreneurial programs that I've been on are all saying how just that mentality is wrong. That you want to reach for the stars. Reach for the stars. It's okay if you settle for the moon, but at least you'll get that far. And once you get that far, why would you stop? Because why not? That's kind of where I'm at right now. Almost to the moon, not quite, but again, but why stop? That's it. That's all I got for today. But stay tuned. I've been typically broadcasting on Mondays and Fridays at the moment for this particular show. And on Friday, I'm going to address a method of how can you retrain your brain. Yay, we've identified that there's a way that we've been trained by society and by the current educational bubble that we're in, but then how do you change that? So there's a method that I'll discuss called the captain and the crew method, and hopefully it'll be understandable, or I'll figure out how to share graphics if I can, but take a look and check it out. But the captain and the crew method to retraining your brain. So we'll start getting into the how. We've done a lot of identifying, and we'll see where this takes us. Again, please, hi Mario, you too. Please let me know if you've got questions, something you're stuck on, something you've been curious about, but for some reason just have done nothing with, or what's an idea that maybe peaks up and then creeps away again, and then one day you are going through something and you think and like, oh man, have I just done that? Maybe I won't be working this crappy job anymore. What are the things that are on your mind, or that flit in and out, and just need a little something to spark you into movement. Let's find that catalyst. Be it coaching or just a little encouragement or examples of other people who have done it. That's definitely still in the books. Hopefully for midweek interviews, both live or recorded. Hoping for live as much as I can convince people, of course. A little more candid, a little more real. Other than that, stay tuned. And for sure, we'll see you Friday. But, hopefully I'll get on here a little bit now and again and share some thoughts throughout the week, a little unofficially. But I hope you all are having a wonderful Monday. Again, if you're afraid of the Mondays, why is that? Are you truly where you're supposed to be? You shouldn't be afraid of Mondays. I'm not anymore, that's for sure. So, you all have a great day. Hi, Jennifer, you got the tail end, but feel free. I'll be sharing this shortly, and you'll be able to recap what went on. Have a good day, everyone. Talk to you later.